Welcome to Craving the Heat, where desire takes the lead and every story leaves you wanting more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest naughty stories. The evening was still young, but there was a heaviness in the air that made everything seem more profound. As Noah stepped out of the car, the tension between us lingered. I knew we had shared something real, a connection neither of us had expected to find in this moment. I turned the car around and drove toward home, but my thoughts were consumed by what had just happened. The weight of his vulnerability still echoed in my chest, making it hard to focus at the same time. I couldn't help but think about my own feelings. Noah had always been someone I admired for his professionalism, his calm nature, and his ability to connect with people. But this evening, I saw something else, something more fragile, more human. And it was in that moment that I realized how much I wanted to be there for him, to support him in ways that felt more than just colleagues or friends. The next day, I found myself thinking about him again, replaying the conversation in my mind. It wasn't just his words that stuck with me, it was the depth of his emotions, the way he allowed himself to be seen by me. There was a part of me that felt connected to him in ways I hadn't experienced in a long time. I knew I had to see him again, not because of any physical attraction, but because I had become emotionally invested in his well-being. The chance came sooner than I expected. That afternoon, I received a message from Noah. It was simple. Can we talk? I need some clarity. My heart raced as I read it, knowing that this moment would shape the future of our connection. I quickly replied, "Of course, I'll be free in an hour." When we met, there was a new sense of closeness between us. The air around us was charged, not with tension, but with a quiet understanding, like two people who had seen each other in ways no one else had. We sat at a small cafe, the gentle hum of background chatter filling the space as we locked eyes. "I've been thinking," Noah began, his voice steady but filled with an undercurrent of something deeper. "About yesterday, about everything. I've never really shared what's going on with me. Not with anyone, but when you listened, it felt different. I felt seen. And I realized that's what I've been missing for a long time." I reached across the table, gently placing my hand over his. "You don't have to carry this alone, Noah. I'm here. I've always been here." He smiled softly, the weight on his shoulders lifting as he squeezed my hand in return. His gaze softened as if he were seeing me for the first time. I could feel a deep pull between us, a magnetism that was quiet but undeniable. There was more in that moment than words could express. There was a connection that was raw, unspoken, and filled with an intensity that neither of us could ignore. Without thinking, I moved closer to him. The world around us faded, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like the space between us was charged with possibility. I felt my heart beat faster as I closed the distance, our faces only inches apart. I could feel the warmth of his breath, the intensity in his eyes as they searched mine for some sort of permission. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered, his voice a mixture of hesitation and desire. I could hear the vulnerability in his tone, the way his words trembled with uncertainty. "Yes," I whispered back, my voice steady but filled with emotion. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. And then in a slow, deliberate motion, our lips met. It was soft at first, a tentative exploration, as if both of us were testing the waters, unsure of where this moment would lead. But as the kiss deepened, I felt a rush of emotions I hadn't allowed myself to experience in so long. The kiss wasn't just about passion, it was about connection, about feeling seen and understood in a way I hadn't in years. His hands gently cupped my face, pulling me closer, and I responded in kind. My body eager to close the distance between us. The world around us seemed to disappear as we kissed, the noise of the cafe fading into nothing. In that moment, it was just him and me, two people who had found something real, something deeper than either of us expected. I could feel my pulse quicken as the kiss became more urgent, more desperate, as if neither of us wanted to let go. When we finally pulled back, breathless and flushed, I looked into his eyes and saw something I hadn't expected, something both tender and fierce. There was a longing in his gaze, a desire to be close, to be real, and I couldn't deny that I felt the same. "I don't want to stop," he said, his voice low, full of intensity. I nodded, my heart racing in my chest. "Neither do I." We stood up, walking side by side out of the cafe, our hands brushing occasionally as if testing the waters. The world outside felt different now, as if everything had shifted. When we reached my car, Noah stopped me, turning to face me with a look of determination in his eyes. "I don't know where this will go," he said, his voice soft but steady. "But I can't pretend like I don't feel this. Feel you." "I feel it too," I replied, my voice shaking with emotion. "And I don't want to fight it anymore." Noah leaned in, kissing me again, this time with more urgency and more passion. It was as if the dam had finally broken, and the floodgates of our emotions poured out in that moment. Every touch, every kiss, felt like a declaration, a promise that we wouldn't hide from what was between us. When the kiss ended, we stood there for a moment, hands clasped, breathing heavily, our foreheads resting against each other. I knew that things were changing, that what we had started was something neither of us could walk away from. "I don't know what this means for us," I whispered, my voice filled with uncertainty, but also excitement. "But I know that right now, in this moment, it feels right." "I am willing to find out," Noah replied, his voice full of conviction. And in that moment, I knew. Whatever came next, we would face it together. The connection between us was undeniable, a spark that had been ignited and would not be easily extinguished. It wasn't about rushing into something, it was about understanding that this was just the beginning of a journey, one that would lead us down a path of discovery, passion, and love. The days following that kiss were a whirlwind of emotions, filled with the anticipation of what lay ahead. Every glance, every moment we shared was charged with a new energy. It felt as though we were walking on the edge of something big, but the future was uncertain. I had never experienced a connection like this, so raw, so unspoken, yet so undeniable. I knew things were changing, but I couldn't quite predict where it would lead. We spent more time together, not just at work, but outside of it. Simple things like walking through the park or sharing lunch felt different. Every conversation felt like an unraveling of layers, revealing more of ourselves to each other. Noah's ability to listen, to really hear me, was something I hadn't realized I needed so desperately. His presence was grounding, yet exciting, a combination I hadn't felt in a long time. But with every passing day, my heart also grew heavier with the weight of the decision I had yet to make. I loved my husband, Mark. I had built a life with him, and even though things had become routine, I still felt an undeniable bond to him. But now there was Noah, this new, vibrant connection that stirred emotions in me I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. I felt conflicted, torn between the familiar and the unknown. Noah seemed to sense my inner turmoil. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't pressuring me to make a decision. Instead, he respected my space, allowing me to figure out what I needed without pushing. But the quiet understanding between us, the unspoken connection, made everything feel more intense. We both knew this wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was something real, something that had the potential to change everything. One evening, I found myself at home, sitting alone in the living room, staring at the pictures of Mark and me on the walls. I loved him, there was no question about that. But something had shifted, and I wasn't sure how to bridge the gap between who we were and who we had become. I thought about my marriage, the years we had spent together, and the love. That had been so powerful in the beginning. And yet, I couldn't deny the pull toward Noah, the way he made me feel alive in a way that I hadn't felt in so long. I needed to talk to Mark, but the conversation felt impossible. How could I explain the way my heart was torn, the way Noah's presence had awakened something in me? Would he understand? Would he hate me? The next day, I met Noah again, this time in a small park near my apartment. The weather was perfect, the sun casting a warm glow over everything. We sat on a bench, the silence between us comfortable but filled with unspoken tension. "I've been thinking," Noah said quietly, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "About us, about everything. I know things are complicated and I don't want to push you. But I also know that I don't want to walk away from this connection. I want to see where it can go. I want to know what this is." I took a deep breath, my chest tightening with the weight of his words. I had known this conversation was coming, but hearing it out loud made it real. I looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, and felt the tug of desire of something deeper, pulling me toward him. "I don't want to hurt anyone, Noah," I said, my voice soft, barely above a whisper. "I've been married for years, and I never thought I would be in this position. But I can't deny how I feel about you. I can't ignore the way you make me feel seen, heard, understood. I've missed that. I've missed feeling." He nodded, his gaze never leaving mine. "I understand. I would never ask you to hurt someone or make a decision that wasn't right for you. But I can't pretend like I don't want more of you, more of us. I just need to know where I stand." Tears welled up in my eyes as the truth of my feelings hit me harder than I expected. I had been so consumed by the guilt of my emotions, fear of what would happen if I followed my heart, that I had forgotten to simply feel. I had to be honest with myself first. "I need time," I whispered. "I need time to figure this out, to understand what it is I really want. But I do know one thing when I'm with you. I feel alive, Noah. I feel like me again. And that's something I've been missing." His expression softened, and he reached out to take my hand. "I can wait, Layla. I'm not going anywhere. I just want you to know that I'm here, whatever you need. And when you're ready, I'll be here to see where this takes us." It was the reassurance I needed. It wasn't about rushing, about pushing me into a decision. It was about giving me the space to make the right choice when I was ready. As we walked back to our cars, the silence between us felt different. It was no longer uncomfortable, it was filled with possibility. We weren't rushing towards something, but rather taking our time to see where this connection might lead. There was no pressure, no urgency, just an understanding that whatever happened next, we would face it together. That night, I went home and found Mark sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in front of him. He looked up as I walked in, his eyes tired but welcoming. I could see the exhaustion in his face, the weight of our routine, but there was also love there, a love that had been buried under the years of daily tasks. "How was your day?" he asked, his voice gentle. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts before speaking. "It was good," I said, sitting down beside him. "But I think we need to talk." Mark looked at me, a hint of concern crossing his features. "What's on your mind?" And just like that, the conversation began. It wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but it was honest. I told him about the connection I had with Noah, about the way he had made me feel in ways I hadn't realized I needed. I told him that I wasn't unhappy with our life together, but that I had been missing something. I had been missing me, and I needed to find my way back. Mark listened, his face unreadable, but his eyes soft. When I finished, he took a deep breath and said, "I've noticed the distance between us, Layla. I felt it too. I know we've both been caught up in life, in everything but us. But if this is what you need, I'm willing to work on it. We can work on it together." The words felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I hadn't expected that reaction, but I was relieved. He was willing to fight for us, and so was I. The journey ahead wasn't going to be easy. I knew there would be challenges, moments of doubt, and fear. But I also knew that I was no longer running from what I felt. I was learning to embrace it, to face the complexities of my emotions, head dash on dot as I sat there with Mark. I realized that life wasn't about choosing between two people or two paths. It was about finding the courage to face the truth and move forward with honesty. With Mark, I would continue to build the life we had started. And with Noah, I would see where our connection led, knowing that it had sparked something in me I couldn't ignore. Whatever happened next, I knew I wasn't alone. I have finally learned to be true to myself, to honor my feelings, and to trust that the right path would reveal itself when the time was right. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments of reflection. I spent time with Mark trying to rebuild the connection we once had, and yet my thoughts kept drifting back to Noah. It wasn't just the physical attraction that lingered, it was the emotional connection we shared. The way he made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. But I had made a promise to myself and to Mark that I would give our marriage the time and attention it needed. I couldn't let go of what we had built together, and I was determined to give it a real chance. One evening, as I sat at the kitchen table with Mark, I felt a sense of quiet peace. We were discussing our plans for the weekend when my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at the screen and saw Noah's name. My heart skipped a beat, but I tried to ignore the flutter of nerves that surged through me. I opened the message. "Noah, we need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow?" My stomach tightened as the words settled in. I looked over at Mark, who was deep in conversation with our son about an upcoming school project. I quickly typed a response to Noah, agreeing to meet him the next day, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. The next afternoon, I found myself walking to the park where we had last met. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the grass. I had no idea what Noah wanted to talk about, but I knew it wasn't just about our connection anymore. It was something deeper, something that could change everything. Noah was already sitting on a bench when I arrived. He looked up as I approached, his face serious. I sat beside him, my heart racing in my chest. "What's going on, Noah?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, even though my mind was spinning. He took a deep breath before speaking. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I've realized something about myself. About us." I turned toward him, waiting for him to continue, but he hesitated for a moment. "What do you mean?" I asked that. Noah shifted slightly, his eyes searching mine. "The thing is, I've been holding back from you. Not just because of our connection, but because of something else. I didn't want to complicate things more than they already are. But I have to tell you, Layla, I'm not the person I've been pretending to be." I frowned, unsure of what he was getting at. "What do you mean? I don't understand." He swallowed hard, his hands gripping the bench. "I've been hiding something that could change everything between us." My heart thudded painfully in my chest. "What are you talking about, Noah?" "I'm married," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been married for over 5 years, and I've been hiding it from you." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt the world shift beneath me, everything I thought I understood unraveling in an instant. My breath caught in my throat as I tried to process what he was saying. "You're married?" I whispered, my voice shaking with disbelief. "But, Dot, you never told me. You said you were different." Noah's eyes were filled with regret, and his voice cracked. "I know. I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring this into our connection, but I can't keep lying to you. I've been torn, Layla, torn between my life with my wife and the way you've made me feel. I should have told you from the start. I should have been honest." I sat there, stunned, unable to speak for a moment. My mind raced, the pieces of my emotions suddenly falling into place in the most unexpected way. The guilt I felt for my own feelings toward Noah, the confusion about what it meant for my marriage, all of it suddenly made sense. "I don't know what to say." I finally whispered. "I don't know what to think." Noah's face softened, and he reached for my hand. "I don't expect you to make any decisions right now. I just wanted you to know the truth. I know this changes everything between us, and I'm so sorry for that." I pulled my hand back, feeling the weight of his confession settle over me. My heart ached, not just for the betrayal I had felt, but for the confusion that now overwhelmed me. How had I let myself get so involved, so emotionally invested in someone who had been hiding such a big part of his life? After a long silence, I stood up. "I need some time, Noah. I need to think about all of this." I don't know what any of this means anymore. I turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. My emotions were tangled, conflicted between my love for Mark, my bond with Noah, and the deep sense of betrayal that had just been revealed. As I walked through the park, I tried to clear my mind, but all I could think about was how everything had changed in the span of a single conversation. I had never imagined that Noah, someone I had trusted, someone I had opened up to, could be hiding such a fundamental truth. When I returned home, I found Mark in the living room, sitting on the couch. He looked up as I entered, his face filled with concern. "Leila, what happened? You've been gone for hours." I stood in the doorway, my body stiff with tension. I don't know, Mark. I don't know what's happening anymore." Mark stood up, walking over to me. "What's wrong? Talk to me." And for the first time in what felt like ages, I broke down. I told him everything about Noah, about the connection we had shared, about the way I felt torn between my marriage and my growing feelings for someone else. I didn't hold anything back. The weight of the truth spilled out, and I felt a deep sense of relief mixed with guilt. Mark listened, his face unreadable as I spoke. When I finished, he took a deep breath, his expression softening. "Layla, I'm not going to pretend I'm not hurt by all of this, but I want you to know something. I love you, and I want us to figure this out together." His words were a balm to my soul, but they also opened a door I wasn't sure I was ready to walk through. How could I fix something that was broken, something that had shifted in ways I didn't understand? "I don't know if I can fix this," I whispered, "but I want to try. I don't want to lose you, Mark. I don't want to lose what we've built." Mark pulled me into his arms, holding me tightly. "Then let's figure it out. Let's take it one step at a time together." And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. I didn't know where this journey would take me, but I knew that I wasn't alone. I had Mark, and I had the strength to face whatever came next. The next few weeks were filled with hard conversations and moments of uncertainty. I spent time with Mark, trying to rebuild the connection we had lost. And I spent time alone, figuring out what I needed. But one thing was clear: I had to honor my feelings, but also the life I had built. I couldn't let myself be defined by a single moment of passion or betrayal. I had to move forward with honesty, with grace, and with a love that was still there, even if it was hard to find at times. As for Noah, I knew that our paths had diverged. The bond we had shared was real, but it was also complicated, tainted by the secrets he had kept. I would carry the lessons from our time together, but I had to let go of the idea of what might have been. In the end, I realized that life wasn't about perfection. It was about honesty, growth, and the willingness to face the hard truths. I had learned more about myself, about love, and about the importance of staying true to my values. And as I walked forward into the future, I knew I was ready to face whatever came my way, with the love and support of the people who mattered most. The journey wasn't over, but I was no longer afraid of what it held. I had learned to trust myself again, to believe in the power of love that was steady and true. And I knew that no matter where I went, I would never forget the lessons that had brought me here.